Hello, it's Darren at Moonhare Studio, and today we're looking at Ethera Gold Sahara Voices. If you didn't see part one of this series, then please do click the link either above or below and check out how I programmed the cue using just the Ethera Gold 2.5 library. But now we're bringing it to another level. So let's get on. Here's a logo with lots of glitchy bits in. So I've just had a really wonderful 3 hours playing around with this library, and I'm going to play you the cue now with the vocals in context, and then we'll break it down and we'll go through the different sections that I've used and why I've done certain things the way I have. But yeah, let's have a listen. So what do you get included with this sample library? Well, let's take a quick look. We've got 5 different instruments here. We've got the true legato, which is obviously a big attraction of this library. We've got vocal phrases, we've got sustains, reverse vocal phrases, and true legato processed. And that last one is the only one that I haven't used. And my dog's barking. Isn't that always the way? So the first instrument I've used in the track is the reverse phrases, and because this intro is quite soft, I didn't want something that was too overpowering, so I've just got a rather spooky sounding phrase. You won't notice it hugely in the mix, but it's just there to give that kind of ambience. And then we go into the main part, and here I bring in the sustains and the legato. So the sustains are, they're a really good instrument because you can just play in something that isn't going to overpower the lead. Now if we have a look at the instrument itself, you can see that you've got a number of key switches here, and that gives you different articulations. So there's a lot that you can use there, and you can get different types of textures for your sound. So mixed in with the true legatos, run back there. Provides that sort of backing harmony. Now the true legato itself, as I say, is probably the thing that most people are going to buy this library for. So let's have a look at what I'm doing there. It's a very straightforward instrument to play. I mean, you can literally play this in live. It's great. It's really nice to have a go with. Very, very straightforward. So most of this I've just played in, and then I've tweaked little bits and pieces where I wanted it to fit specifically with something else, mainly towards the end of the track. But as you can see, it's, you know, it gives you let's just solo those again. Just an amazing sound. So definitely a great instrument, that one. So just something that I would like to draw your attention to with this particular line is that even a singer as talented as Clara Sarachi would not be able to hold a note for 2.5 minutes. So just think about the realism of the performance and put in some breathing spaces. So I've actually put deliberate gaps in between the phrases just to give it that sort of realism. It doesn't matter how well a sample set is programmed, you can make it sound unrealistic if you really try. The other thing is that there are two articulations for the legato. You've got an R and an U. And so I have actually used these and swapped around in places to give different performances. And that again can add a bit of realism to your piece. So before I go to the breakdown at the end, I just want to nip through the Sahara Voices vocal phrases library. So it's a really versatile library. You've got an awful lot of phrases in here. And not only have you got all of these, but you've got a drop down here where you can pick different keys, different beats per minute. I believe that the suggestion is to stick within 5 or 10 beats per minute of your project tempo. I mean, I pushed it to 115 and my project's at 100 and it sounded great. So, you know, there's probably a little bit of flexibility there, but do be aware the further you get away, the more the sample is either being compressed or stretched, and it may start to sound a little bit unnatural. You've got attack and pitch here, real-time controls, and your volume as well. To counteract the possibility that if we, you know, 10,000 of us all go out and buy the library today and we all start using the same phrase, you can actually create your own phrases on the fly by using the legato mode. And it means that if you play one phrase and then another, it cuts into that other one at the same time as you left the previous phrase. So you can actually create sort of new phrases. So that will help the longevity of the library itself. And likewise, you can actually offset where you're going to play a phrase from. So you could pick a phrase like that and decide that you only want to play it from that point and ditch the beginning. And you can drag and drop on screen, or you can use that control there. So again, that gives you the opportunity to create more unique phrases out of what is already a very substantial library. As with all the Ethera Gold products, you get an FX rack, which is really good. Usually there's a load of reverb on all of these instruments, and that's probably the natural way that they sit anyway. I've only turned it off because I've got a vocal bus with a reverb on it, so I don't actually need it, but it is a good reverb. And I say all of these effects are great. They're, you know, I've used them a lot on Ethera Gold 2.5, and particularly for hybrid instruments, absolutely brilliant way of getting new and exciting sounds. Finally, you've got a section of loops down here which you can use to sort of augment the sound of the phrases. So you could use that perhaps for live performance, or just use those loops in your compositions, an easy way to get a sort of tempo matched loop for your vocal phrases. So that's the vocal phrases library. Let's just have a look at how I've used that. So as we come into the final section, the sustains drop away, and I'm using the phrase library and the true legato as two vocalists weaving in and out of each other. Now, the two bring different things to the party. The true legato, which, as I say, is a very playable instrument, brings that unique melody that you compose yourself. But the vocal phrases bring that authenticity of the vocalist actually giving a performance, which you know, with the best will in the world, you'll never be able to emulate completely on a legato instrument. So the legato actually helps to cover for the fact that you're using a phrase library, but the phrase library brings the authenticity to the legato. So in context, that sounds like this. See my legato phrase is there, which I've played in, and then the phrase is complementing them down here. And as we play out to the end, you'll notice I've automated the Valhalla to create this huge reverb. Push the vocals right there. Now there's one last trick here. You'll notice that I've actually got one more instance of the phrases. So that is just, you know, the normal vocal phrases library, but I've specifically put an offset in here so that I can trigger one sample part way through, just to do that last section there. So as we move through, if we have a look on here, you'll notice that, you know, I've got one more phrase, but it's cut. So let's have a listen to that bit there. So again, it's all about using the library's strengths and also trying to keep it fresh. I mean, obviously at the moment it feels really fresh because this library has not been in the world for all that long. But once people start using it, you want to make your own mark on this library and make it sound like your music rather than somebody else's. Just one last thing to say about the true legato, because there's an awful lot of scripting and sampling required to create something as realistic as this. So this takes up nearly 4 gigabytes of RAM. Now that means that if you're working on a sort of limited machine, maybe a 16 gigabytes, or God help us at 8, you're using a sizable chunk for that. So do remember that in Contact you can always purge, update the sample pool, and you can see the actual samples I'm using is 97 megabytes. So it clears all of the stuff that you're not using, all of those samples that are held in memory that you don't actually need. So if you're struggling with issues of RAM and glitches and things like that, always worth purging the samples that you're not actually using from memory once you've created your piece, you know, and it's ready to go. Alternatively, you can always freeze it or render it to audio in whatever DAW you happen to be in. So I've really enjoyed using this library. Well done, Stefano and Clara, another cracking job. And I hope that you've enjoyed this insight into my process of working with these sample libraries. If you did, a thumbs up is always appreciated. Don't forget to check out the video on Ethera EVI 2, and also the first one in this series if you want to learn a bit more about Ethera Gold 2.5. And hopefully I'll see you on another one.